Today, I'm joined by Sean Sunias, who is the Director of Indigenous Relations with Farm Credit Canada. Today, we're discussing economic barriers within Indigenous agriculture. Now, Sean, I know that this issue is very multifaceted. Could you outline some of the key economic barriers that farmers within Indigenous communities are facing?
Well, I think the number one kind of barrier that most Indigenous entrepreneurs face, particularly First Nations on reserve, is access to capital because of the way the Indian Act is structures land for First Nations. It's held for the benefit and use. So it's not something that can be leveraged or mortgaged in any fashion. So security has been something that's gotten in the way for lending on reserve. A lot of financial institutions have not explored any kind of creative ways to deal or mitigate that issue. So certainly that's something that FCC has taken on and created some processes to find different ways that we can have that comfort in lending and still have our processes and things that we need to have in place be present. So I don't know what, like, if you had any specifics, questions around like that or
Yeah, no, I did actually. In my research prior to speaking with you, I saw that you do speak a lot about economic reconciliation. So first off, what does economic reconciliation entail? And secondly, where would you say that we are in the journey of reconciliation? Is it closer to the beginning, or is it, a couple of stages down the line?
we're at the beginning of the journey, and there's a ways to go, but that's okay. I mean, every journey starts somewhere, and when I look at economic reconciliation, there's many forms, but certainly as a financial institution, we would have be best equipped to focus on what we can do around the economic development in the agricultural sector. So what does that look like? Well, lots of communities, they have successful, diverse, sophisticated business holdings across a variety of sectors. But the one that often is the blank spot, even for very advanced communities, is agriculture. So we need to make sure that communities are aware of the sector, what it does, what it includes, what's the economics of it, understanding the metrics. Our communities need to make informed decisions. They don't have infinite resources. Quite often they've got a dedicated financial package that's intended to gather lands, back through tree land entitlement, specific claims, and other processes. And what we've seen many communities do is lease those out, right? So they've purchased it from a farmer in a local area, and then they just said, well, we're not in a space right now to do anything with it. Would you like to lease your land and continue farming? And that's worked very well for communities. They got cash flow, they developed business acumen, and kind of expanded other areas. But they've kind of maybe struggled on transitioning from what I would term leasers in agriculture to leaders in agriculture. And I think they can reassume and reassert that role. We just have to find ways that, can create some ease and understanding, because a lot of folks can look at the agricultural sector and say, well, that's really risky. And this last year, probably for a few, didn't put a real positive lens on agriculture. So what do we need to do to convey, what the business model is, what the pros and cons are, and mitigate some of the challenges that, I referenced earlier on capacity, capital, and so forth. And economic reconciliation is reducing those barriers so that communities can participate. So when I look at, the population is say 5% in Canada, and we've seen federal calls for procurement on that level. But the numbers across provinces vary tremendously. So if we look at Saskatchewan, it's closer to 20%. And if I look at, well, we're leaving 20% of perhaps that land or that opportunity off the table, even though a lot of it is leased out. There's lots of land that's not broken, and there's lots that will be purchased into the future and create more opportunity. But how do we create that space so they can transition into the sector and really benefit from it?
Sean, thank you so much for your insight on this today. I very much appreciate you being able to speak with me.
All right, thanks, Joey. You take care.